Morning, everybody. We're going to give folks like another minute or so to trickle in, but it's great to see you all. Thanks for waking up super early. We'll get started in 60 seconds. All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before I dive into my stuff, I'm going to hand the mic over to Rachel real quick.
Everybody, I just wanted to let everyone know if you want to ask questions today in the lounge room, if you go to the Positron lounge channel in the Discord, I'm going to put the Slido link over there, and so you can ask questions there either with your name or anonymously. If it's with your name, you can also just raise your hand here in the room, and we can answer questions that way too. But it'll be in the Positron lounge channel in the Discord. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Welcome, everybody, to our very first Learning Center lounge area. So it's good to see everyone here so early in the morning. It's great to see all the virtual attendees as well. Hello. My name is Ryan Johnson, and today we're going to talk about Positron and doing some really cool AI-powered stuff inside of it. Now, if I've not met you already, and I see a lot of familiar faces already, but again, my name is Ryan. I'm a data science advisor here at Posit. Part of my role is just to make sure that you all know about all the cool tools that we're creating here at Posit, our open source tools, our professional tools, as well as the IDEs that we're creating. And that's going to be the real focus for today. As a quick show of hands, who here has used Positron already? Okay. And maybe I could probably figure this out, but maybe entertain me. Who here has never used Positron before? Raise your hand. All right, we're actually like 50-50, so that's pretty cool. All right, so if you've never used Positron before, maybe you have, and you're just a little curious about the history of Positron, what is Positron? You can give it a lot of definitions, but what I'm going to call it is an AI-ready multilingual IDE specific for data science. Now, for those that have never used Positron before, I'm going to maybe take a guess that you're probably used RStudio before. This is an IDE that's been around for about 15 years, probably more than that. It's our baby. It's like the first tool that we ever created here at Posit, and we love it. And the reason why our users tend to love it is that it really is tailored to R, and it's very much optimized for data science. We'll talk more about that here in a second. But there's other great IDEs out there. Who here has used VS Code before? All right, most hands. Very cool. VS Code is a great all-purpose editor. So if you're using R, if you're using Python, if you're using Julia, HTML, JavaScript, you can probably find a home in VS Code. So it is multilingual right out of the box. It's also extremely customizable, so you can do whatever you want. There's that rich ecosystem of extensions where you can just make VS Code your own personal flavor. And then in more recent versions of VS Code, it's also AI equipped, so things with like GitHub Copilot come with it right out of the box. And so when designing Positron, we essentially wanted to take the best of both worlds. So we looked at RStudio and we're like, what do data scientists really like about RStudio? Well, they really like that variables pane in the top right, so they can see the variables they're creating. They can interact with the data they have stored in memory. They also really like that plots pane in the bottom right by default, so you can actually see your plots. You can see your tables and interact with the insights that you're creating. And with VS Code, you know, people just love that it's extremely customizable, again, multilingual, AI equipped. So we took the best of both worlds and we made Positron. That's what it looks like over there on the right-hand side. This is a much larger view. So if you've never seen Positron before, hello, Positron. This is what it looks like right out of the box. Now, again, if you're a VS Code user, you're going to immediately see some stuff that looks pretty familiar. And if you're an RStudio user, you'll also see some other stuff that's familiar. But if this is the first time you're seeing Positron, there's a really easy way to just break it down, really into 4 different components. On the left-hand side over here, we're going to call this like your manage area. So this is where you can do things like read in files. You can have your extensions, manage them over here on the left-hand side. You can do version control. All that stuff is over here on the left-hand side. Now, as you begin writing code, so maybe you're creating things like R scripts, Python scripts, Shiny applications, Quarto documents, that's all done right up here in the top middle. This is kind of your writing zone where you can actually edit and write your source code. And as you're writing your code, you obviously are going to want to run it at some point. And that's all done down here at the bottom. And so it's kind of hard to see. Let me remove that box. But there is a console right here, very similar to like RStudio. But what's also really cool about Positron, again, it is multilingual. It's probably hard to see, a little small on your screen here, but at the very top, you can see we're in this screenshot, we're running R version 4.4. But if I wanted to, I could click this little button in the top right and easily switch over to Python, and that will switch over my console to Python as well. So it's extremely easy to switch from R and Python. You can have an R and Python session running at the exact same time. And then the last part of Positron, which is what we pretty much adopted from RStudio, is your understand portion of the IDE. So this is when you start creating variables, storing data sets, interacting with data sets, plots, tables, Shiny apps, rendered Quarto documents. You can literally interact with them and see them directly in the Positron IDE, all from the right side here. Now that's Positron, but today's focus is really about highlighting some of the really cool AI LLM integrations with Positron. And the first one that we're going to introduce you to is something called Positron Assistant. This is an AI client that's actually built directly into Positron. So it's nothing you have to add additionally, it's right there, you can start using it. But I do also want to give the small note here that this is still a feature that's in preview. So you can certainly test it out, but it's not quite ready for production just yet. And within Positron, you'll see on the left-hand sidebar, there's a little robot face. That's how you can access Positron Assistant. But what can you do with Positron Assistant? You can do a lot. So you can, I'm showing again a screenshot over here on the right-hand side. You'll see there's a little text box in the bottom. That's where you can just literally interact with Positron Assistant. Ask it questions about your data, your analyses, and it will get a response. So you can chat that way. You can also leverage inline code edits, which I'm going to demonstrate here in a little bit. Something that I'll talk a little bit more about in a second is that Positron Assistant and pretty much all of the AI features we have in Positron are model agnostic, meaning we're not going to force you to say, hey, you need to use ChatGPT or you have to use Gemini, because chances are your team may only approve certain tools. We want to make sure that you can bring those tools to Positron and use them. All right? Posit's not in the business of creating our own LLMs. We just want to make sure you can use the LLMs that you can use in Positron right out of the box. And then lastly, again, Positron and Positron Assistant are designed for data science. And the way that Positron Assistant does this, it's pretty cool, and it's also a little creepy. So here I have the Positron IDE, and I put purposely some very creepy eyes on it. When you interact with Positron Assistant, it can actually see your Positron environment. So it can know that, hey, you have this Quarto document open, or hey, you have some variables stored in memory. I can see the plots that you've created. I also know what code you ran in your console and what error messages or output that you got. So that way, when you create or make suggestions or questions to Positron Assistant, typically the suggestions you get and the responses just tend to work immediately because it automatically knows everything it needs to know about your environment. And I'm going to hopefully demonstrate that functionality here in a second. Now that's one way to interact with Positron Assistant, again, using this little chat box in the bottom left. But there's another way. This is known as inline code suggestions. So if you have a Shiny application open, or a Quarto document, or a Python script, or a fast API, you can typically hit Command-I if you're on Mac, or Control-I if you're a Windows machine. And you can open up this little chat assistant kind of window where you can make edits directly to your source code that way. And again, we'll be demonstrating that here in a second. This is going back to that mentality of that Posit. Again, we are not in the model creation space. We just want to make sure that you can bring your own models into Positron and Positron Assistant. So currently right now, it's Anthropic's really just the main model that we support, and we are actively testing out other models. So as Positron Assistant continues to evolve, we hope to support additional models in the future. Now, Positron Assistant's one tool that we're going to talk about in this short demo, and there's another one, and this is called Databot. And I'm curious, anybody here try out Databot? Okay, we got a few hands. That's cool. The vast majority have not. That's expected. It's a really new tool. It's a very exciting tool. And honestly, it's probably one of the more fun tools that I've ever interacted with. And Databot, unlike Positron Assistant that's built into Positron, Databot is actually an extension. So if you're a VS Code user, you'll know that it's a very rich library of extensions you can import into your Positron session to customize your development space. And so Databot is, in fact, an extension. Now, the way that Databot works is pretty cool. We've kind of coined this internally called the where loop. So it's really designed for exploratory data analysis. So you get like a brand new data set thrown at you, and typically the first thing you want to do is just understand what that data is, what it's telling you, maybe extract some insights. That's where Databot comes into play. So if you have a new data set, you can open up Databot and you can just say, hey, Databot, tell me about this data. And what it's going to do is kick off this where loop. So the first thing it'll do is write R or Python code on your behalf, again, with your approval. And this is also something that, again, the way we interact with these LLMs is all code-based, because we know that code is the most auditable way to interact with LLMs. So Databot's going to start writing some R or Python code, and it will execute it immediately. It'll actually analyze those results, and then regroup and offer some additional suggestions. And then you can give it the next instruction, and this where loop will just go around and around and around in circles until you are confident you know everything you need to know about this data set. Okay, so for the rest of the session today, we're going to do a demo, and I'm going to have a lot of audience participation. So don't be shy, because I'm going to ask a few questions here. So this is Positron. Just to kind of orient you all, again, we have our little manage sidebar here on the left-hand side. I have open in the main center, this is a Quarto document with some R code inside of it. I have my console down here ready to run some code, and you'll see again the variables pane, the plots pane, the things that we love about RStudio right here within Positron. And again, you can see I am running R in the very top right corner, but if I wanted to, I can easily switch over to a different version of R or even a different version of Python, which is a really powerful feature of Positron. All right, and then over here on the left-hand side, here's a little robot face. That is Positron Assistant. We can open it up, and we can always drag, just like in RStudio and VS Code, open it up a little bit so we can see it in all of its glory. All right, so what we're going to do first is I'm just going to run through this Quarto document. And if you've never seen Quarto before, they typically have these QMD extensions, very similar to R Markdown in a lot of ways, but Quarto is also designed to support R, Python, and other languages, so like Julia, Observable. So it's a bit more of a language agnostic tool. This Quarto document's not particularly complex. It's only about 40 or so lines of code, and these gray boxes are code cells or code chunks with some actual R code inside of it. And we're going to step through this, And we're actually going to hit some error messages, and we're going to use Positron Assistant to help us debug these errors. So the first thing that we're going to do, we have the tidyverse package, we have the scales package, we're just going to load some packages into our environment, and then we are going to import a data set from Tidy Tuesday. Who here is familiar with Tidy Tuesday? All right, about half or so. Tidy Tuesday, actually I think I have a, let me see if I can open this up here. Tidy Tuesday is this GitHub repository, and every Tuesday we release, well, the Tidy Tuesday folks release a new data set that you can just play around with. So if I scroll down a little bit further here, it goes all the way back to 2018, so it's a pretty rich repository of data, and the data is extremely diverse, going from palm trees to Pixar films. You got Pokemon in there, which is pretty cool. It's a great, just if you want to do some exploratory data analysis, if you're teaching and you would need to leverage some data, this can be a really helpful resource as well. All right, so let me just get those slides back up, come back into Positron. So what we're going to do is I'm going to specifically use this Tidy Tuesday R package to import a data set from the week of July 1st of this year. And then I'm going to extract, so this data set is actually looking at gas prices over time, and I'm going to extract a specific data set called gas prices. So let's go ahead and run this code cell. I can click Run Cell at the very top here. So I do that, you'll see it runs all the code down here in the console, and then in the top right corner you can see the environment variables that have been created, and again, I can literally come up here and interact with them, which is a really great feature of Positron. Now we have some data loaded from Tidy Tuesday. Now what we're going to do next is just create a plot. All right, we're going to use a very popular ggplot package to create a really nice visualization. So let's go ahead and run it. And I told you we're going to hit an error message, and here it is. At the very, very bottom of your screen, so apologies this was a little too low here, but we get an error message which isn't particularly helpful. All right, it's telling us that there's no applicable method. For filter, I guess that's kind of pointing us in the right direction, but if you're new to R or Python or Positron, you see this error message, you're going to be like, I don't know what to do now. So what we're going to do is use Positron Assistant to help us debug what's going on here. Now again, Positron Assistant is aware of my environment. And if you look down here in the very, very bottom left, you're going to notice that it already has some context about my environment, like what R version am I running, 4.4. And you'll also see it automatically picked up the Quarto document that's in my source pane here in the top right. So that is some of the context that's going to be used when I interact with Positron Assistant. I don't have to do anything particularly fancy here. I can literally just say, help me fix the error. That's it. Now, if you were using something like ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic, and you're using like the web chat interface, you would probably have to like, okay, let me grab all of my code and I'm going to copy and paste it over, which is a huge pain in the butt. Positron Assistant, you don't have to do that because it already is aware of your context. So let's go ahead and run this and let's see what Positron Assistant does for us. All right, you can see it's used one reference at the very top here. All right, so it's letting you know it's using the Quarto document to help inform its response. And we just read through the message here. So the error occurs because gas prices is null. Okay, that was unexpected. So what it actually did here, which is pretty cool, is that it knows about my Quarto document, but at the same time, it was looking at my environment variables. It sees this Tuesday data set over here in my environment, all right, but it also sees this gas prices, but it's set to null. And that's something I didn't actually pick up. So something weird is going on here. And you'll notice that Positron Assistant right on this line right here is like, hey, you actually extracted this incorrectly. So instead of gas prices here on line 15, it really needs to be weekly gas prices. So again, this is how Positron Assistant knows about your environment and can start making really helpful suggestions. And then as a little bonus, it actually said, hey, I actually found some other errors in your code. So it certainly makes you feel good about your development. But it's saying, okay, you use labels, it should be labs, and then date, you're using capital D here for date, but it should be a lowercase d. And then at the very bottom here, you have an entire code snippet that if I wanted to, I could run it directly within Positron Assistant. You'll see these little icons above here. So you can copy it into a new script, or what I like to do is a second icon over, you can apply an editor. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And I'm going to add it to my QMD document that I currently have open. And it'll take just a couple seconds here, but it's going to give us a diff, something where we can actually see the changes it's suggesting, we can approve them, we can reject them. It gives you a lot of control. All right, so anything you see in red here are going to be suggestions that Positron Assistant's like, okay, we no longer need this line, and the green stuff are going to be the suggestions that it suggested here. So you can go one by one and either approve them or reject them, but if it looks good to you, and I think Positron Assistant's doing a good job here, we can just keep it all. So let me go ahead and keep it, and now we have a revised script here, and let's go ahead and run it. And there we go. So now if we look down here, we can see our beautiful plot down here in the bottom right, which I just minimized. There we go. All right, and just like our studio, you can drag these dividers here. You can also pop it out, so if you want to, just click here. Actually, I'll do this one. All right, and we can see our beautiful plot. This is looking at gas prices over time on the x-axis, which I think looks really good so far. And then again, at the top right here, we can see the environment variables. Gas prices is no longer null. And we can actually interact with this data set. So if you click this little icon off to the right, we get the really, really handy data viewer within Positron. So if you've never seen this tool before, it's similar to what you'll see in RStudio, but it is just insanely feature rich. So you can see what columns are in your data set. You can learn about all the various metrics, like quick little glimpse into the various columns here. There's also, you'll see a little icon here to let you know what % of the data is actually missing. So this is a really, really awesome tool for exploring your data. Okay, so I've created a cool plot here. I think it looks pretty nice, but I think we can make it look even better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my cursor on the lines of code where we generate this plot, and I'm going to hit Command-I on my keyboard. And this opens up this window here where we can interact with Positron Assistant in line with the rest of our code. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you all, for some brave volunteer, look at that plot. I know it's really tiny in the bottom right, but what's something you would like to do to this plot to make it better? Or worse, I don't know, do whatever you want. Does anyone give me a suggestion? Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Change the x-axis labels so they are vertical. Actually, I need to do a fix here. I'm going to do the same thing here. I am using a bleeding edge of Positron here, so I want to make sure you see all the cool new features. All right, so there it goes, and right there, it just automatically went really fast. But you'll notice down here at the bottom in green, that is what it's suggesting. All right, we could accept it, we could close it and reject it. What you can also do here is we can just rerun this code cell with that inline still there and see what the results are giving us. All right, there we go. Down here at the very bottom, again, I'll make my plot a little bit bigger. You can now see the labels are straight up and down. All right, and that's how easy, so I can accept it, and we are good to go. Anyone have any other suggestions they want to make to this plot? Yeah, let's try it. So I'll come in here, again, I'll do Command-I, and I'll say remove the background grid. I'm going to throw in another one here. Well, actually, let me do this. I'm going to say remove the background grid and add a trend line. Make the trend line purple. Not too much. Positron Assistant's pretty smart and will know kind of where it needs to make those edits. I think it might be helpful to put it in the general area of where you're trying to make the edit, but for the most part, it's pretty smart and will know where to add these edits. All right, so let's go ahead and try this one out and see what we get. All right, so looks like it made some suggestions. Let's go ahead and run it and see what it looks like. Uh-oh, got an error message. That's okay, because how can we debug error messages? We can use Positron Assistant. So let me go ahead and accept this, and I'm going to say, back down to here in the bottom left, hey, I got an error. Can you fix this? All right, give it a few seconds here. Well, now it doesn't want to behave for me. Curses of the live demo, but that's okay. But hopefully you all can understand now that how Positron Assistant, with just some natural language, you can really dramatically improve your, the data science, your plotting. You can do a lot more with Positron Assistant, and I encourage folks to play around with it because it's really cool. But for the sake of time, I do want to demonstrate Databot because this tool is insanely cool. So I'm going to go ahead and just restart my R session, which you can do down here in the bottom right. Just restart R. It's going to clear your plots, clear your environment variables. I'm going to close out of this specific script and open up another one. And this script is extremely complex. It's got 2 lines of code. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to, again, ask for another volunteer. I'm going to load this package. And on this line, on line 3, we're essentially going to import a data set from Tidy Tuesday that I've never seen, you all probably never seen. So I want someone to just give me a random year from 2018 to now. Any year. 2020, okay? And someone give me a week. 23, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and run this code, and let's see what we get. Hey, we're going to be analyzing marbles. All right, how exciting is that? So we have this marbles data set. You can see marbles.csv at the very bottom. It's actually living in this TuesData variable in my environment. And I don't know anything about this data. And so we're going to use Databot to help us out. So I'm going to open up Databot, which is an extension in Positron. So I'll do open Databot. And it looks something like this. I'm going to go ahead and just clean up my windows a little bit so y'all can see Databot in all of its glory. All right, so we have this Tuesday data in our environment, and this is Databot, which again is perfect for exploratory data analysis. I'm going to go ahead and kick off this analysis by just saying, help me explore the Tuesdata data. Now let's let it run. Hi, I'm Databot. And there you go. The first thing that's going to happen is Databot always wants to make sure that you stay in control. So if you're okay with Databot running R or Python code on your behalf, you can allow once or you can always allow. So I'm going to go ahead and click always allow, and we're going to let Databot work its magic. So again, it's running all this R code for me. All right, Databot is extremely positive. It'll always give you really happy messages, which I enjoy. All right, so it's still working. It's still analyzing. All right, excellent. Now I have a good understanding of your TuesData marble racing data set. So again, I have never seen this data set before, but we have 256 marble racing records from Jelly's Marble Run. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but I'm certainly not. We have 16 different teams, races, some key findings, so letting you know there's some missing values. But then also what Databot does is it provides some suggestions, like, hey, where do you want to go next? So we could show me the fastest and slowest marble times overall, which teams perform best. And I know it might be a little small on your screen, but I want you all to just take a look at some of these suggestions. Anybody feel strongly about one suggestion or something else? What do you all want to do next? Visualize, not surprising. That one's always very fun. We're going to create a visualization showing team performance over time. So I can click on this and just tell Databot to do it. All right, so it's going to go ahead and write some text, and then it's going to start running some R code for us. All right, it sees the results. I can see the qualifiers, shorter races. Give it a few more seconds and see if it creates some cool plots for us. I'm going to make my screen a little bit smaller because you can see the plot was just a little squished. A lot of the plots aren't going to be super beautiful. I mean, Databot can actually create some really awesome plots. I know this is an issue with the inline plot, or the line plot. So it's cool because, again, it can see your code, it can see the plots that it's creating, and it can continue to work through it. So let me just keep running through here. All right. Key insights from the visualization. So time-based chart shows dramatic differences between qualifiers. There's fast, and then there's long endurance races. I am so confused about this marbles data set and what's going on here. But again, Databot's trying its best to help us out here. Season 1 rankings. So the Savage Speedsters, they seem to have won Season 1 for these marble races, which is pretty cool. Let's, just for the sake of time, because we only have about 4 minutes left here, again, the whole idea here is that just you can keep going. Keep learning about your data. You can create visualizations. You can have it run some statistics on your data. It can do a lot of stuff. But when you're done with your analyses, you might want to just document what you did. And Databot has a really cool feature where you can do / and say report, and it will create a quarto document summarizing your analysis. So it's going to go ahead and say, like, I'll be happy to create one for you. It's going to give you a proposed outline, and if you're happy with it, it'll actually create it for you. So I'll say, yes, that looks great.
What are you running? You running against Sonnet again?
I'm great. Excuse me?
What you running against Claude Sonnet?
Yes, yeah. For this one, I am using Anthropic Cloud Force Sonnet. You can see in the very bottom down here. All right? And if you look right here, it's actively creating my quarto document summarizing the results that we did. All right, this may take a little bit because we did a lot of cool things, but just for the sake of time here, just to do a quick recap. Again, Positron, this is just an awesome tool that we're insanely excited about. Optimized for data science, as we talked about. Multilingual, supports R, Python today. It's designed to support other languages in the future, so we expect Positron to be around for a very, very long time. It's LLM flexible. Again, we're not going to force you to use one model versus another. We want to make sure you can bring your own model. With Positron Assistant and Databot, it's designed to make just working in your projects easier, creating files super easy like we did with that quarto document, and then faster exploratory data analysis with Databot. So with that, I am happy to take any questions. Yes, question there.
The report function there,
Yep.
do you have the ability to tell it, like, hey, ignore this piece,
Mm-hmm.
don't report on that?
Yep, so what you saw, and I know it's a little squish here on the left-hand side, but this is still Databot over here. All I did was say report, that's it. But I can then give it a more context and say, like, create a super simple report, something like that, with like 200 lines, or exclude that analysis. You have some customization over that report as well. So, yeah.
So are you creating your own API keys?
Yeah, so it's kind of, again, bring your own model kind of thing. API key. How we actually do it at Posit is we do it at Bedrock. For the most part, a lot of environments it's already set up for it, which is really cool. This is my running locally on my laptop with an API. These are some experimental models right now that we're testing out. To add in.
But you are paying like per it's not like a
Correct. Correct.
Ryan, when people ask a question, can you repeat it so people virtually can hear it too? That's okay.
Yeah, great question. So the model is about if any model performs better than others. I would say that in terms we are pretty okay, so we're always Couch's work where he does a lot of testing, comparing them. So we're always on that outlook for the next. His name is Simon Couch. He has a lot of like open source packages for kind of having models go, enter the octave.
I just want to make sure I ask a few questions that are coming in virtually as well. So in the Positron Lounge channel in Discord, Jeff had asked a question, and it was the star highlight indicating the line with the error a Positron Assistant extension feature, or just Positron out of the box? Was the star highlight indicating the line with the error a Positron Assistant extension feature, or just Positron out of the box? So,
Oh, okay. I might have to tap into Jenny for this question because I know this is a relatively new feature, I think. Let me clean up some of my stuff and see if I can at least just replicate. With Databot Assistant, I'm not sure how I actually got it going.
The very first filter error ran in and a little star popped up next to the filter line.
Yeah. Jenny, do you know what they're referring to? I did see it on my end. Again, this is a very bleeding edge of Positron. I'm not entirely sure I know what that feature is.
All right, again, I'm also not
Yeah.
a Positron expert within Positron, but I think
Oh, there it is.
Notice this, if someone else is here, where it will like explicitly offer you a fix for what's come up.
Okay. I think this is what they're referring to right here on line 22. It's probably a little small, but there's a little star right there. And if I click on it, it looks like it's going to do some cool stuff. I have not tested out this feature, so this is also very exciting to me. This looks like it's using GitHub Copilot out of the box, which also is supported within Positron.
Jenny or anyone else from the Positron team, so people can hear you if you answer questions, but you want to go here.
And I think we have, oh yeah, we have the other mic too.
Apparently this one's not
Okay,
picking up backup ground sound, it's not working well.
got it. And I'll try my best to kind of moderate too. So yeah, question.
If we are working with sensitive data, for example, government and health information, is it safe to use Positron Assistant in this context? How is data
Yep, it's a really great question. So the question's about data security and using LLMs. If you work on sensitive data, like is it okay to use Positron Assistant? Is it okay to use Databot? Again, we are not building any models at Posit. We are not consuming your data. It is a bring your own model mentality. So we would hope that your team internally who's done the homework to know like, hey, we can approve Gemini, we can approve ChatGPT because that's what we know we can do internally, and then you can just bring that to Positron. But again, it is a large language model. You are making requests to an API, so it is something to be aware of. And again, if other folks on the Positron team are here as well, if there's any other auditing features I'm unaware of, but again, it is just mostly a bring your own model mentality that hopefully your team has done the homework and is approved internally. There's also, I should say, I don't think it's available currently, but there are ways where you can interact with models that run all on-prem. So you can do something like Llama and interact with Positron that way, so you're never actually reaching to an external API, everything's staying in-house. It's a great question. We'll do this one right here.
For Databot, can you give it some sort of like background setting or context for exploring data, right? Sometimes you need help brainstorming ideas of what questions to ask,
Yep.
like what to explore. Like, can you not train the model, but can you
Yeah.
give it that context as to like, oh, you're a healthcare data master
Yep.
guru or something like that?
Yeah, great question. So the question is, you know, you can use Databot right out of the box, and you can see it works pretty well, but you may need to like customize it a little bit more based on your data, based on what you're doing. I believe there is a file, I think we call it like llm.txt, which is something that Databot and Positron Assistant will actually consume when it first boots up. And it's a way to add additional prompt messaging to tailor how Databot and how Positron works out of the box. So if you need to do any additional tailoring to it and kind of do some more prompt engineering for those tools, you can do that within Positron Assistant. Again, I'm not entirely sure what that file is called. I want to say it's like llm.txt. It's something like that. It's a great question. I'll do it in the back left.
Yeah, just on the Databot, the always allow, is that per session or is that forever?
That's per session. So, I mean, this is my own personal Positron. I've been using Databot on it for a long time now, and every single time it'll ask me. And again, to repeat the question, it was that always, like, are you okay with Databot running R and Python code? Or you need to approve that? That happens every single time you open up a Positron or Databot session, even if you've interacted with it in the past in the same environment. Yep.
So, Databot's new to me. Before that, you know, give somebody a data set and say, okay, go do an EDA on this.
Yeah.
End up in different spots depending on who you ask to do it and what the data's like. Is it more or less deterministic to kind of have a Databot system? It's more sort of a philosophical question. That helps that out, or is it depend on who you're driving?
Yeah, it's a great question. So to summarize the question, you know, Databot is an exploratory data analysis tool, and there's a high likelihood that you may have one data set, and if two people analyze it, you might, I wouldn't say get different results, but you may just go down different avenues. Like maybe someone's gonna look at correlations in the data, and other people are gonna do some more visualizations. So it is very much who's driving the analysis. and where you go from there and kind of what you're hoping to learn. I would hope that if people set out with the same goal and are using Databot, that they're going to get to the same results. But it is an LLM. These are inherently chaos machines. So there may be a little bit of just fluctuations there. But yeah, that's my hopefully philosophical answer. It's a good question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try and ask you some more questions that are coming in the Discord, so let me know people, the audio now. My microphone just messed it up for you. But the question was, when will it be possible to use custom OpenAI APIs or GitHub Copilot for the Positron Assistant? Is that something that will be announced during the conference?
It's a good question. I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of our Positron project manager. So I would probably say that, PLC, Tom Mock, I'm not sure many of you know Tom Mock around. He's the product manager for Positron. We have entire engineering team of Positron, and those that work on Positron Assistant are here as well. They may be able to provide more of like the roadmap for Positron Assistant and what's coming to it. All I can say for right now, it's in preview support, so it's there. You can use it and try it out and have fun with it, but we'd probably hold off on doing any production work in Positron Assistant for right now. And that also applies to like what models are going to come to Positron Assistant in the future. So it's still very much in active development. Good question?
Is there MCP support?
Yeah. Okay. The question is there MCP support? I want to say yes, but I don't know confidently. Jenny or anyone else here?
Yeah, again, I think all of that is pretty, like,
You can use tools today in Positron Assistant, but exactly how you use it for them, I'm.
Yeah.
But also, I would urge you to ask a lot of these questions in Slido for the note that's about to happen. We'll land on Jonathan McPherson, and you'll get much better answers.
And I'll also say that this will be like a little bit of a for the keynote that's about to happen, but I know later on here in the Learning Center, we're going to have Winston Chang, who's the creator of Databot, who can probably do a much better job answering these questions than I can. And other folks on the Positron Assistant side will be here as well, can help address these questions. But my goal is to just hopefully get you excited about these tools and using them for your AI stuff and data science stuff.
I know we're sticking around for Positron Q&A a bit, but I wanted to give people a chance if you want to run out, get coffee, or go just hang out in the hallway before the you're welcome to get up whenever you want, but we're going to stick around and answer some more questions. There's a lot of questions on the Discord, too. I realize we got it scheduled up.
Okay, gotcha.
So another question was from Christy in Slido, and it's for the AI assistant that Ryan just talked about. I know he said